the Home Run Derby. Not a lot of the big names. And think about when we had Sammy Sosa, Jason Giambi, Mark McGwire. Now, none of these like all-star, superstar sluggers really participate.
Got to get the big names. There's got to be a way to get people energized once again. And this is not specific to MLB. The NBA All-Star Game and that All-Star Week falling apart. Pro Bowl that entire week is a joke.
I just went to the St. Paul Rodeo, and the Pro Bowl reminded me of some of the games that I saw there.
Throw a baseball and dunk your teammate into a thing of water.
Jannik Sinner did win Wimbledon over the weekend, defeated Carlos Alcaraz. Came back from losing the first set there. Alcaraz had won Wimbledon the last 2 years, and Sinner's coming off kind of like a heartbreaking loss in the French Open where he was up 2 sets, I think, and kind of let it slip away. And so like the mental aspect of him coming back to Wimbledon and winning here was pretty impressive. Scott, you're our resident tennis correspondent. Give me your thoughts on it.
Well, we were talking about how to pronounce pillow. It's Wimbledon. It's Wimbledon.
Hold on. I said Wimbledon. That was Mikey that said Wimbledon.
Yeah, that's what I said. Wimbledon.
This is one of the best rivalries in sports right now. These two guys going back and forth. And I've been saying it after Roland Garros and everything like that. These guys have split the past 6 majors, and now they've split the past 7. I love seeing these back-to-back finals matchups, and I think it's awesome that Sinner finally got his after letting that one slip in Roland Garros, pun intended, on the clay.
Wow,
so,
nice.
Yeah. So look, all of this is to say Sinner almost let it go again. Third set, you almost felt the momentum shift again, similarly to how it happened in Roland Garros, where he was up big, and then Carlos just had that one string of games that just turned the corner. But Sinner finally clamped down. Like, that's what I love about this is, like, clearly I've been harping on this. The mental fortitude that you need to have in this individual sport, this solo sport, is quite honestly second to none, in my opinion, because it incorporates the athletic and the mental aspect of things that you need in order to perform and succeed. So I love this matchup, and I can't wait to see more of these in the future.
Yeah, I mean, these guys are 23 and 22 years old, and I mean, we've got probably 15, 16 years of these guys hopefully being at the top of the sport, kind of taking the reins from the big 3. And we saw Novak Djokovic in this tournament as well, Sinner beating him in the semis. And it was interesting hearing him talk, because he's 38 now, and him talk about kind of his semi against Sinner and just his body sort of betraying him, and how he's just like finally really in the last year feeling that age set in. But he's had such an amazing career. What do you think? Is it kind of the end of the path for Djokovic, and we're really moving on to these next set of guys here? Do you think he'll win again?
That's a great question. I mean, you always have that question about Tiger too on the golf course.
Yeah, exactly.
He ended up pulling it out. What was it, in 2019, getting another major? I think Novak has at least one more in him. The fact that he got to the semis in Roland Garros and then back to back with Wimbledon,
right,
and he just so happened to go up against the juggernaut, the younger juggernaut of Sinner. It's just bad stretch of luck right there. He still is competing at an exceptionally high level. And talking about his body, he had on that last point in the match prior to in the quarterfinals, he injured himself then. So had that not happened, I think this would have been a little different of a battle. And even in Roland Garros, they were going back and forth, and it was just Sinner got the upper hand because he got Novak moving way more than he's used to doing. So, I mean, ultimately, I think Novak's got at least one more in him. All he has to do is just get to another semis. He has to hope that Sinner and or Alcaraz kind of like slip up on their own, or one of the other young bucks like actually takes one of them out, because ultimately he is insane in his placement of the ball. Like we talk about Aaron Rodgers and how he can sling the ball around the field like that. He is absolutely that guy, and he still has the mobility, the lateral mobility, in a way in which like even Rodgers probably doesn't have anymore. So like, I think he's going to get at least another one. Specifically because he's performed as well as he has over the past 2 majors.
And that's basically what he was saying, like in the press conference also. He's like, yeah, my body just didn't really hold up here. Mentally, I want to revisit like my training, when I want to peak, and I want to come back here and give it another full swing shots. Another interesting point on this, or Mike, were you going to say something?
When he says when he's talking about his body not holding up, was he talking about his knees? It's got to be knees.
Okay. Right? What is it going to be? Single leg hamstring? I'm going to fix Novak Djokovic?
Curious. No, here's actually what I want to say. In baseball, where it's like the standard for a good pitcher is like throwing over 90 or 95 miles an hour. What's like the standard of like a really good tennis serve in terms of speed? Like they're talking about consistently 135 miles an hour on their serves. Like what's the speed that's considered, oh, that's fast for tennis?
Scott?
I have no idea.
It's like 140 is insane. I think actually in this Wimbledon there was the highest recorded serve. Here, let me look it up real quick.
Okay. It's also interesting with the serves. Like I was watching some breakdown of them as Sinner got like 63% of his first serves in, and Alcaraz got just barely over 50. So like Sinner was really serving quite well.
Yeah.
And then also playing the net, like playing more aggressively, while also like being in the lead and possibly having that thought in the back of his head of, oh, I don't want to let this up. And you think sometimes athletes would want to play it safe, but he didn't really play it safe. Like he just went full gas on the throttle there at the end and like didn't let that haunt him and really, redeemed himself here. Did you find it, Scott?
Yeah, well, it was 153-mile-an-hour serve here in this past Wimbledon.
Oh,
he's a Frenchman. He's a Frenchman.
Okay. I thought he was Italian. Okay.
No, no, Frenchman. But he, I mean, 153 miles is how the hell do you have the reaction time to return that sort of speed?
Yeah, that's the kind of thing that doesn't come up on like when you're watching on TV. Like when you like if you saw that in person or like had that come at you, just for the layman. So, I mean, I went and played tennis. I was inspired by Wimbledon. I went and played tennis. PCC Rock Creek, Scott, right across the street from your old house. Laura and I went and played. I don't know. Laura was putting up maybe 30-mile-per-hour serves, and I was struggling with those. Dude, just
That's what I thought, babe.
yeah, I won in the end. So
This is
can you convert that?
150-mile-an-hour serve. You're sitting there, and he serves it. And you go, okay, I'm ready.
Goes right by you. The other thing I want to talk about with these two guys is so Alcaraz is younger. He's 22, and he had obviously won the 2 Wimbledons back to back in the last 2 years. So like he won at age 20 and 21. And Sinner sort of had this big rise in the last year, going from kind of like good to great, and obviously the number 1 ranked player in the world right now. You look back at their history, Alcaraz like started locking in on tennis at age 4. I think his dad was a tennis instructor. Sinner, coming from that Tyrol region, Scott, that I told you about. Okay, he's Italian, but really he's Tyrolean, which is the mountain region. And he really focused on skiing. Like that's a huge sport there. Until he focused on skiing and soccer.
Yeah.
And then tennis was like his 3rd sport. And he didn't really start focusing on tennis and drop the other sports till he was 13 or 14 years old. So it's interesting to see just compared to Alcaraz when they started like honing in on the sport, because we talked about that of like, when are young athletes now specializing in their sports? What do you make of that, of them starting like, I mean, Sinner, what's the math there? 8 years, 9 years after Alcaraz in terms of really locking in as a tennis player?
Yeah, as a tennis player, it's interesting. I mean, I can only speak from familial experience. I didn't focus on tennis and or play it at all as a kid. And I wish I did now looking back on it. But, it's one of those things. I always bring up Roger Federer. He's famously known for having played multiple sports and starting tennis relatively late compared to his peers, because you look at Alcaraz, if you're starting like essentially out of the womb and you're hitting it, similar to a Tiger Woods in golf, like you're going to have, exceptionally high skill level comparatively to your peers, really at any age. And then from there, it's a lot of the mental, it's a lot of keeping the body healthy, so on and so forth. For Sinner, it's interesting because it sounds like he developed his athleticism, especially in the lower region. If you're playing soccer, that's footwork. If you're skiing, like that is all core, all lower body to get going. So like there are ways in which you can develop your body and prepare it for jumping over to a different sport. And then from there, you may just have an innate, unique ability to increase your hand-eye coordination faster than other people and pick up on those techniques and skills much faster than others. But then you have that foundational aspect of training through those other sports that you can bring to the table. So it's really interesting. I mean, we see this even in basketball. I get the feeling, and sometimes even football. Granted, football, like you're always developmentally later than most people because there's not travel league. I think it's always best to develop yourself as a all-encompassing athlete first and foremost. And then if you are good enough, you may be able to translate into other sports. As we talked about on Friday in our episode about athletes who could sport switch.
Yeah. Hey, by the way, did you see my Instagram post promoting that episode where I did the off the backboard dunk with the football? Little blending of sports. I was impressed with my creativity.
Yeah. You could have lifted the height a little more and changed some angles to make it seem like you were actually dunking on the 10
I wasn't trying to, I was wearing flip flops.
Well, after you talked crap about Tyreek Hill having a poor performance and dunking the ball over the goalpost, I would have assumed
he was wearing shoes. Tyreek Hill. Okay, Mike, did you see that? Did you see me doing that?
No, I assume that the video you posted had a hard cut right after you jumped in the air, and then it cut to close up on the rim. It's clearly lower the rim.
Like those really bad old school basketball movies where they're clearly just cutting in the shot.
Yeah, you take the shot, then you hard cut, and then to swoosh.
Swoosh. Yeah, it's called filmmaking, Mike. Okay, can you respect?
Oh, that's what movie magic is.
That's called movie magic.
All right, was that a specific class in film school?
Well, I didn't graduate, so I wouldn't know. It wasn't in the first semester. I got kicked out. All right. Look, okay. A thing about Wimbledon is funny here. Okay, you guys watch Sopranos. You know who this is? This is Tony Blundetto from The Sopranos. Says, people in the crowd at Wimbledon, everyone rocking the all white, like dressing how the players, because the players have to wear white at Wimbledon, right? And so I just think this is kind of a funny thing of like so many of the people in the crowd also wearing the all white. And on one hand, it is admirable and like shows respect to the event, but on the other hand, Mike, this makes me think about like your stand-up comedy joke of the baseball coaches who wear the full uniform, and like what's the equivalent of that? Oh, a football coach wearing the full uniform on the sideline. And then you've got the fans here at Wimbledon also be like, look, I'm also wearing all white, like I'm part of it. What do you guys think?
I completely agree, and what a great callback to my fantastic bit, if I do say so. But that's what it is. It's the same thing. Here's another thing. With the walk-in for players before the game, and everybody has like fashion is so big around sports now, and these players.
Sure.
It seems like Wimbledon and the tennis world, like the players walk in. I feel like fashion for tennis players should be, highly more prominent than it is for like football players and these guys.
Yeah, true. I mean, like football, football and fashion, there shouldn't be really tennis because it is a little bit more posh of a sport.
Even golf.
Even golf. Okay.
Yeah.
You can have this. Well, speaking of this side of things, Scott, I see you smiling over there.
Well, no, okay. First off, not everybody in the stands are wearing white. I understand.
Okay, 70%.
Yeah, but that's also due to fashion trends within the summer. That's a general sort of cream, ecru, all of those are worn during that time. What I love about this is the fact that, like, look, I liken this to what it used to be to fly on an airline. And how people went about going on airlines. It was an experience. It was something that you prepared for, you dressed up for. It was something that you respected the whole process.
Yes.
That's what I enjoy about this, is that everybody who's involved understands that you're going to an event. You're going to a ballet on a tennis court. You're going to an opera on a tennis court, which you dress up for. So I love the fact that this is kept traditional. I like that fans have bought into that as well and agree with it and think it's like one of those situations where everybody's on the same page. The tennis, we talked about it too. It's like, I love the fact that they're wearing all white because one, I hate, especially on teams, like when players try and like increase their individuality, their brand, all that kind of stuff. It's like, hey, how about you just stop, play really well, and let your play be the thing that really elevates you. I'm so tired of the swag and everything. How about you just be a better athlete?
Mike, we got a generational divide.
Okay, Scott, I hear you, but I completely disagree. You know how it's, for example, you could be the same exact athlete sprinting down the sideline with just, high socks, or you could be that same athlete wearing white tights. And you will look so much faster. You will be treated so much better by the coaches. Your draft stock will increase. You will hit the same exact speed. But if you're in white tights, you look so much more faster and athletic. Like if your tights match the way that you look matters in today's age. And like, it's not something that can be ignored as a player. You have to look the part. Coaches do not care if like what the numbers are. It's like, does this guy look scary? Does he look kind of cool? Like, that's a real
but then your game, but then you look like Tarzan, play like Jane. That actually comes out and on the field. So it actually does matter how you perform. And the radar you wearing tights doesn't change the radar effect, how fast you're running. And you could talk about aerodynamics, But that
It's not,
aside,
it's not about numbers. It's all perception now.
So you guys,
Mikey,
your
think about
argument
the
is
draft.
hold on,
the
hold on.
NFL draft. It's all perception and hype. All of it. 98, what is it? 80% of draft picks turn out to be duds. It's because it's all hype and perception and who's everybody looking at? This guy seems like that's what it is.
So you're arguing it's basically all other things being equal. I just
are
stumbled
you
over
okay?
Yeah.
Sorry, I had a lift there. All other things being equal, the tights do add to the perception of the athlete. That individuality does add to the perception.
Yeah, but when everybody's doing the same thing, it's not individual anymore. You're
well,
actually
that's why it's a slippery
anti-swag.
slope. It's a slippery slope because then you have to continue adding on things and garments onto your body.
Yeah,
to
That's why you
continue
get
the
two
individuality.
mouthpieces.
Now we've gotten to the point where people wear two mouthpieces.
You're gonna have two back flaps next. Like,
I don't even do that.
Cam Newton used to do two back pads because he's so big.
it's like a smaller shoulder pad. So the first back flap is like mid back, and then the next one is lower back.
Okay. You know what? I think this is a good time to transition then into football since we're into talking about back flaps now. Okay. Because we do have some news out of the NFL with second round draft picks now getting fully guaranteed deals. Let me throw this up here. So the Texans gave Jaden Higgins a fully guaranteed second round rookie deal ever. And now almost all the second round picks right now are still unsigned and actively refusing to sign. Keep in mind, this is not first round draft picks. This is not top 10 draft picks. We're talking about the second round here. And to me, what jumps out here is just, I don't know if entitlement's the right word, but the results of the NIL era here where guys don't have the same respect for the NFL as they used to. Guys coming in because they made money in college or had the opportunity to make money in college, and they feel they have more leverage now coming into the league to the point where we're talking about second round draft picks holding out. What do you guys make of that?
I think it's good. I always am for players getting as much money from the NFL as possible. It's such a small window of playing that like all these contracts that are like not fully guaranteed where they're acting like they're giving players a bunch of money, but like they have all these, fine print where it's like, yeah. And so I think for players in football, especially because the window's so small and it's such an impact on your body that you have to maximize and milk the NFL for everything it's got when you're in the moment. Even if you come across as ungrateful or entitled, like this is your chance.
Sure. Yeah. That's a good argument. Scott,
Yeah.
Where are you on this?
I agree on the majority of what Mikey's saying right there. I think there's a problem, and I'm sure there's a reasoning for this, some business reasoning. Obviously, you want to pay your people as little as possible while them maximizing their effort on the field. But at the end of the day, I think there is a problem with the physicality, especially over the past 20 years as it's come to the forefront with all of the medical research and everything like that. There's a problem with this sport having the lowest percentage of guaranteed money in its contracts.
Sure.
Now, those contracts could be lower. That's not to say that, hey, we need to, like, NFL players need to be getting, the $250 million guaranteed contracts that MLB players get. But the percentages of guaranteed money should be higher for these guys because of those reasons. Granted, the NFLPA has increased an insane amount in terms of their after career sort of coverage and benefits and everything like that. So it's getting better, and that pot is sweetening for sure. Granted, you have to play for, what is it, closer to 4. So like 4. Not a lot. Yeah, not a lot of guys actually make it to that point. Right. So to Mikey's point, that's like, yeah, you got to milk it for what you're worth because it's not for long league. But at the end of the day, I think there's a problem here with guys who are 100% unproven. Like, yeah, you got to milk the NFL for all it's worth, right? But that's after you've already stepped foot on the field.
Right.
The fact that these second rounders are making claims about their potential, there's a ceiling to that. And I think it makes sense to have maybe those negotiations or renegotiations come the end of that first season. So say the second rounder actually performs quite well based off of the normal contractual agreement coming out of the draft. And then you get to sit down once again, as opposed to 5 years down the road or 3 years at the negotiation table. It's sooner. And then you can really start making claims, being like, hey, I've actually panned out. You guys took a risk on me, drafting me. I actually performed and did so to a high degree. I want more guaranteed, so on and so forth. I think that negotiation window should probably be shifted up.
Yeah, I think that's maybe a good compromise on it. And like I agree also with Mikey what you're saying there. It's like your window is so short. And even if you come across as like a little bit of a dick or a diva here, that you have that's part of it. But I'm just worried about the slippery slope nature of this because already here we're leaking into the second round. When is this going to happen with third round picks? When is this going to happen with fourth round picks? And anybody who argues that the slippery slope fallacy is a fallacy, you're wrong. It's just not. It just is true. Okay, because precedents are set, and then you move it another inch, and then you move it another inch, and all of a sudden, a sixth round draft pick is holding out. And we're like, what are we even doing here?
I think it's completely true and fair that it will be a slippery slope and it will eventually get to that. I'm saying I don't think that's bad. I think sixth and seventh round people. I think their money should be guaranteed, as football players. And I think from the league's perspective, from the NFL, how much of a difference of an impact is that really going to make for them at like the end of the year for the NFL? It's like, okay,
Their bottom
we're going to
line.
give this guy all the money we said we could give him. Like,
Well,
Yeah,
I don't think it's hurting the league as a whole. I think it's just like better treatment for the players.
Yeah, I think there's something wrong. Like to your point about perception, I think there's something wrong with this because they haven't even made the roster. Yeah, they're a second round pick, so the chances of them making a roster are quite high, but that doesn't guarantee that it's not guaranteed. So for them to demand guaranteed money before they've ever stepped foot in camp and made a roster is what is frustrating. It's like, dude, you literally haven't even proven yourself to make a roster yet. How can you go ahead and stand on the other side of the of the interview table and say, I'm worth this much, give it to me now, never play for you once?
right. Well, maybe there's a solution here, and maybe it's this. Remember when Odell Beckham Jr. a couple of years ago demanded, it was 2021, he demanded all of his salary be paid in Bitcoin. A lot of people laughed at him. Bitcoin is at like $64,000 at the time. It's essentially doubled since then. So that 750K is now worth nearly 1.5 million. And it sounds a little bit silly to like bring this up, but it is becoming more and more of a mainstay in mainstream culture here. Bitcoin is here to stay. Do you guys think that we could see something like this become more popular?
Yeah, maybe this is a way to capture a different payment mechanism that like I'm not even sure how this factors into salary cap or anything like that.
Yeah,
How do
same. Yeah.
like is it dollar for dollar, like Bitcoin for dollar? I don't know. That's
Well,
so interesting.
it
Well, like,
must.
why can't, when they get the money, why can't Odell Beckham just buy Bitcoin with it?
I
Invest.
was
Why do
wondering that.
all he's doing is like, okay, you guys buy it and then hand it to me. It's the same thing. Like, if you could buy it 1 second after you sign the contract yourself. It's
Well,
like,
I was okay. Well, maybe it's because you get obviously your payments in installments, and the price of Bitcoin could rise. And here you're getting locked in. Like I get
Lump
this
sum
amount.
payment. Yeah.
Yes, and so you benefit then from the appreciation of the asset, not having to actually buy it and dollar cost average. Like you
Yeah.
get all of it at 64,000. So that's probably what. If it's not that, then it makes no sense and it's silly.
And
If it is that, that's the argument.
it may also be pre-tax. So if they paid him out, the taxes would have been removed from his paycheck. So then he would have had to use taxed money to then buy a lesser amount of
There you
Bitcoin.
go.
So it's
True.
like, hey, invest this for me so that it's pre-tax.
Look at that
that's
Yale
good.
degree
Who
coming
still
into
plays
play.
taxes anymore? That is totally funny.
What is that word? Tax? And Mike, I know you're upset about them talking about Bitcoin. You want to talk about XRP or another coin.
You got that right. Just
Yeah.
don't get back over $3.
There we go.
Actually,
We're
nuts.
coming back,
You know,
baby.
poop coin.
You'll see.
Bitcoin?
You'll all see. XRP.
Shoulda-
Okay. It's
shoulda
the only
known.
thing. Yeah, you'll see.
Okay. No, Mike, I bought XRP at your advice. Okay. This is not financial advice, everybody. Okay. Let's touch here on the MLB, on the Home Run Derby. The guys participating has been set. And it's not a lot of the big names. Cal Raleigh, Big Dumper, is in there, who did hit, I think, his 38th. We were talking about him last week, passing Ken Griffey Jr.'s record for before the All-Star break. But just like think about this, and then think about sort of back in the day when we had just like the big dogs, when we had like Sammy Sosa, Jason Giambi, Mark McGwire back in the day, and now none of these like all-star superstar sluggers really participate. And it's kind of the same thing like that we've seen in the NBA with All-Star Weekend and the dunk contest. You remember how incredible the dunk contest used to be in the NBA? Because you'd have like literally the best players, the best dunkers, the most exciting athletes going out there and participating. And now we just don't really have that. What do you guys make?
Not that these guys are bad by any means. Obviously, they're in the All-Star week and they're in this game and the Derby and everything like that. So they're like quality, top-notch dudes on the field. But at the end of the day, it's like we're talking about marketing. We're talking about eyeballs. We're talking about, hey, do you want people to join in on the fandom of this sport? We got to get the big names. There's got to be a way to get people energized once again. And this is not specific to MLB. This is across all boards. You got the NBA All-Star game, and that All-Star week is falling apart before our eyes. The Pro Bowl is an absolute ghost of what it once was. Honestly, it's a joke. It's that entire week is a joke now that they've turned it into a carnival.
I was just saying the Pro Bowl. I just went to the St. Paul rodeo, and the Pro Bowl reminded me of some of the games that I saw there. Just like guys, like it's like carnival games. You got the roadies and all
throw a baseball and dunk your teammate into a thing of water. Step right up.
Professional sports. Yeah, I don't really like this this trend that we're going on. And obviously it's, these guys, the superstars don't want to participate. They're worried about getting injured, whatever it is, but the marketability, it's just like, it's not interesting.
Well, look, I think this is part of the conversation we're having right now. It's like the markets, the businesses have grown to such a degree that, and now we have NIL, we have all of these mechanisms, dudes creating their own brands and being like, oh, I don't want to risk this for injury reasons or something like that. Hide behind that, of course. You're building up all of this stuff. So the threshold to incentivize guys is getting higher and higher and higher by these leagues. And it's almost like a self-defeating mechanism, because at a certain point, that's going to diminish the product that is actually on the field.
Right.
And people going out there. And like, obviously you have to rely on the fact that people are still competitors and still want to go out there and compete and are willing to put it on the line, like Tyrese Halliburton did in the NBA Finals.
Sure.
Like, they're out there to win, and that's what matters is ball. But at the end of the day, with all of these things happening, it's showing us that there may be negative effects and ramifications to all of this money that's seeping into it.
Yeah, absolutely. And then
changing the athlete mindset.
Yeah, changing the athlete mindset. And hey, slippery slope once again. First, it's the Pro Bowl weekend and the All-Star weekend and the dunk contest. And then all of a sudden you got guys sitting out regular season games and there's load management in the NBA. And it's just like that whole mentality just shifts out to like, I'm going to do the bare minimum, ramp it up near the end of the season, play in the playoffs. And Mikey likes that. He likes the bare minimum, right? That's fair.
Dude, just what it takes to not get fired. That's what you got to do. Oh, here's actually an idea, like for athletes. You know how it's kind of a side. It's kind of not fully connected to what we're talking about, but
sure.
Like how.
Here we go.
Oh, sure. I think we have time.
We have time.
Okay, you know how like players, you have incentives in your contracts from the team that you're on. Okay, so you're incentivized to perform for your team. What if there was incentives from the league as a whole to players? Because if there's a whole nother level of like wanting to push yourself or like win championships and do stuff that's beyond just your loyalty to your team, which is fading more and more. You could tap into people's loyalty to the league itself. And so like, if I win more championships, I'll get some sort of incentive from the league too, because
like extra trophy or something.
I'm talking like a ribbon, a ribbon
or something. No, I mean also like
in-season tournament trophy. That's
there you go. Fun extra trophy. Put up on my
I'm talking money.
Money. They're not going to do that. But the NBA has done stuff like, for example, you're no longer eligible for certain awards unless you play X amount of games or X percentage of games throughout the regular season. Like that kind of stuff is good. Like those kind of incentives. Like, what are you talking about? That was right on brand. That was exactly what we were talking about. You weren't straying away.
Oh, yeah, good.
That was good. Good. But you know what?
Good. Listen, I listened.
I do actually, if you guys are okay with it, I do want to stray away, and I want to do just a grab bag segment here.
Yeah.
Okay.
Wait. I had one thing to say.
Okay. One more thing on the. Okay.
Okay. So, I agree with you that the organizations, or excuse me, the businesses, the leagues should be the ones that pay out, right? But at the end of the day, it's like you can gripe about rev share all you want. You can try and get those dollars to the players, but the owners are the ones who have fronted the money, who are essentially bankrolling the league, getting a lot of that coming through. and they're the ones who are taking on the risk. And I know this is like a very controversial way of like putting it, and everybody's up in arms about capitalism, but like they have put up the risk in financial endeavors. So
Yes.
it's hard. It's a hard one to like parse out. And also, I wonder if those trophies, like the MVP, you have to play X amount of percentage of games and such.
Right.
I wonder if like players now talking about changing the athlete mindset, does that ultimately matter to them anymore? Does that equate dollars in the end? Because if you're building your brand and you got 5 million people following you on Instagram, YouTube, whatever, and you're raking in millions of dollars doing that, like, do you really care if you win the NBA MVP?
Well,
Or
see,
like,
that's another downside with the kind of this era of sports is guys caring almost less about their legacy, like their traditional legacy within the league, more about the dollars they make, and then the legacy of their brand on social media. So it's kind of like it is the devil of that side. Okay. Do you guys want to do it? You want to do grab bag? We got some random stuff. Welcome to grab bag. Okay. We'll just do a couple minutes on each of these.
ball
They
bucket.
all sort of have something to do with sports. Drum roll, please. All right. Let's start off with Peruvian horse racing. Okay. But it's not the horses.
Se da la partida de la carrera de
Jannik.
jinetes inmediatamente. José Ávila por dentro con Rodrigo Alonso.
Okay.
Están peleando la punta y abierto. Lo hace Adrián Tután.
Jockey's sprinting.
Rodrigo Alonso por dentro, un cuerpo.
Oh, he's
El
got
segundo
that
lugar
from the
para
inside.
Adrián Tután en línea con José Ávila.
Got it.
Llegaron.
Oh, the guy on
A
the inside pull there.
continuación,
Got it.
finaliza
Peruvian horse
Jorge
races.
Letona.
The jockeys, they were actually
Domenico
racing for
Flores.
charity. Hilarious. What do you guys think? What is an equivalent of this in another sport? Is this like putting the Bill Belichick and football coaches out on the field to do a race or to do like an inside drill?
That is so funny.
What do you
Oklahoma
make
drill.
What do you make of this?
What was the grand prize?
Something for
Also,
charity.
Where
Look
were
at
the horses? Where do they put the horses?
You see this guy back here in the red and yellow or sleeves? It's just lean back. He looks like one of those little kids at a CYO track meet.
Yeah.
Lean forward, buddy.
That
Okay.
is so funny.
So we've got that. All right. Then I want to go, Mike, you're always talking about different sorts of drills and stuff, single leg hamstring. What do you make of this drill? Because some people are actually saying this is actually pretty good. Okay. So you come out here and then one of the athletes has to stop. Okay. And sort of like a change of direction and a deceleration drill. You're our drill guy, Mike. What do you think?
I think that's good. I think the risk of a drill like this, throwing down the foam roller, might be a little like
Little
he could just stick his arm out. It's just about deceleration. You don't need to throw out like a booby trap. Just put your arm out and then tell him, okay, now you're decelerating.
Yeah, you decelerated. You tripped over it. And
You don't need to make the
broke your
risk that heavy.
I think if whatever sport this is obviously the strength and conditioning coach. The head coach of that team is going to be pissed off if one of his players comes away with a sprained ankle.
Snaps his ankle. Yeah.
But
I
the
think
concept-
it's a good concept.
Right?
Going from full sprint to deceleration. I think that's the way to do it. You have to have some competition to get yourself to not protect yourself in anticipation of the deceleration, but just stick your arm out.
Yeah.
There's no reason to risk that.
Looking at the running styles here, I gotta say this is either ice hockey or lacrosse team here. I mean,
Yes.
the arm swing, everything. Yeah, this is screaming one of those sports.
Love it. Yeah, I love a little dig at lacrosse. We had a rivalry with the lacrosse team at Georgetown because they were all big time and we weren't. So I love any sort of dig you can make at lacrosse. And ice hockey players, yeah, they're kind of awkward on dry land, aren't they?
I gotta say this though. I got the caveat to the lacrosse stuff. I heard you guys talk about it when I was out on pat leave during the national championship and everything. I do have to give a little more flowers to the sport of lacrosse because I know you can make fun of a lot of the athletes there, but I have a couple friends who are actually recruited to much higher levels of football. We're talking like Penn State linebacker chose to go play at UVA lacrosse.
Okay.
Like there are a number of dudes who are high quality and caliber athletes that play lacrosse. On the whole, yeah, tough to go apples to apples, but there are some great athletes.
Does that not make you question their judgment? Because what's the max reward for being the best lacrosse player? $37,000 a year in the professional lacrosse league? If you're pretty good at football, you can go play at Penn State. Go do that. Maybe you can make it to the NFL, and you make
But that's also a huge risk because you're going Penn State academics versus UVA academics.
Sure.
Not terribly comparable, and now the guy is in investment banking and doing quite well.
Yeah,
So
he hates his life. Why don't you just go watch some YouTube videos on how to drop ship or something? You make the same amount of money without ruining your life. You watch 7 YouTube videos.
Yeah, I've got a drop shipping course. I'm not going to go to college. I think that's going to be a move. Okay, there we have it. Little drill there. All right, hold on. I've got another one. This one I'm really excited about.
wait, sorry. One more thing. I keep coming in late on these things, but we've all been at the 4 a.m., 4:30 a.m. practices and
Yes.
workouts during the spring and doing all that kind of stuff. You know, some of those guys who are running right there are like, you know what? I'm going to trip over this, break my arm, and not have to do this for the next 3 months.
Purposeful injury of a guy who's like 4th in the depth chart and just like, here's another one, grab bag. We're a couple more on grab bag. Okay, it's my favorite segment. And you guys are going to laugh at this, but there's actually maybe something to talk about here. Okay, China has
It's funny already.
to create AI controlled robots for sports. Okay, humanoid robot soccer. All right, and here we have it. Here we got
Stretcher.
Why is he?
Is this is obviously hilarious. The Robo League. Who's paying to watch this? This is hilarious, but the technology will advance at some point, maybe in the next 20, 30 years, however long it takes,
Stretcher.
to where there will be robotic athletic leagues. And if it ever gets to that point, what do you guys make of that? Do you think it would actually ever be interesting, or because it takes out all of the human and emotional side of sports? It's not about just seeing interesting physical feats done by robots. What do you think? Are you?
I think it absolutely has a place, and I think that place is gambling. And I think
that's the only place.
Yeah, it's like just there's always been obscure sports.
Look at this one. Why did they dress it like
Give it a
Adam
shirt.
Sandler?
Well, he runs like a little kid.
Well, it's a young robot, Mike. The robot's only a couple years old.
He was just born.
He was just born. I just saw so many funny quote tweets of this, of who this runs like. It was like Dabo Sweeney running down the hill before pregame. And I just it's funny that China's putting all this effort. Maybe it's not going to be funny. Maybe they're going to be laughing at us. They're going to have really good robot athlete leagues. So what do you think? It's a gimmick or the future?
It's the future, and they're gonna have to eventually make robot parents in the stands that yell at refs and come down like Halliburton's dad. And so there's also that next part.
There you go, Scott. You a fan of robot sports?
This is like you remember that absolutely garbage movie of Hugh Jackman's with the robot boxers that you get to control and everything. That is
Sock'ems?
No, it's not Rock'em Sock'ems. I forgot what it was called, but it was absolute garbage. Came out like 2011, something like that, 2010. This is it coming to fruition. It's like somebody watched that movie, one of the 10% who thought it was a good thing on Rotten Tomatoes, and was just like, I'm making that. I am going to make this happen. And now they bring out these guys who are just doing quick on the grass and not even kicking the ball.
Scott, first of all, the movie, I just looked it up. It's called Real Steel. It's from 2011.
Oh, I remember that movie.
60% on Rotten Tomatoes from critics, 73 from audiences. Okay. So this actually might
children.
Okay. This might actually be the future. There we have it. And we're going to be dressing our robots like Adam Sandler. He does run really like a lot of people that you see. He kind of runs like those Peruvian jockeys, some of them, doesn't he?
Now that I would watch that.
Yeah.
I would watch
Your
that.
AI bot just like straight out, all out sprint.
That would
cool.
be interesting. That's actually kind of interesting. All right, so there we have it. That's grab bag. While we're in the kind of the slow sports season, maybe we're gonna have a little bit of grab bag segments with some obscure things that have maybe a tiny bit to do with athletics or sports. There we have it. All right, so Jannik Sinner, Wimbledon champion, beats Alcaraz, and
Alcatraz.
and robots are taking over sports. Thank you, everybody, for watching. We'll see you on the next one.